This is the Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, June the 27th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters, and as we're closing out June, July just around the corner, and the 4th, of course, next weekend, we've got some very interesting weather to deal with. In the meantime, let's take a look at our Skycam network. Here's a view from Cheehaw. We got some high clouds visible. Looks like the camera is looking off to the northwest. How about this shot at Gadsden? Isn't that pretty cool? They had some rain up that way, and especially across the Tennessee River Valley yesterday afternoon and into the evening hours, and a lot of clouds down there in the valley. Just a kind of an interesting shot from the camera very high up. And then here's another shot from Demopolis as we're looking north along the river, and we can see some clouds over the northern part of the state. Indeed, those clouds are visible on the surface map, as well as Tropical Storm Alex. Alex holding its own, even though it has moved over the land mass of the Yucatan Peninsula. Still holding its own. At last check, was still a tropical storm, likely to be downgraded to a depression. In the meantime, we're dealing with that stationary front that has been across the northern tier of the United States and causing lots of rain and thunderstorms up that way. The ridge is in the upper atmosphere. The ridge is diminishing somewhat, being flattened out by a strong trough moving across the north-central part of the United States, and we expect that trough to bring some changes for us in the form of slightly cooler and slightly drier air. We'll see how all of that works out. In the meantime, it's still pretty warm across this central and eastern part of the country, with a large part of the United States with temperatures in the 60s and higher for 5 o'clock in the morning or so. And around here, we're generally running in the lower 70s, although there are a few spots, like I see Anniston over there with 69, and that over in the western part of Georgia, we're around 69 as well. So temperatures fairly warm for the early morning hours. QPF-wise, the big focus is going to be a front that is headed down into the southeastern U.S. that is likely to become stationary, and that could produce a good deal of rain in addition to the interactions with Alex. Storm Prediction Center outlooking a slight risk severe for the area from just a little south of Chicago over into Pennsylvania and New York, across the eastern part of the Great Lakes. That region of slight risk shifts over to the Delmarva Peninsula, up across Boston and part of southern New England by day 2, which is Monday. On the tropics, that's where a lot of the action is, and we'll have to see what's going to be happening. We've got a small area just to the east and northeast of Puerto Rico that is not likely to develop into much. And then, of course, we have Alex. And there's a look at Alex. Like I said earlier, Alex holding its own as it comes across the Yucatan Peninsula. And, of course, when it gets into the southern or southwestern Gulf of Mexico, it looks like it could intensify. And there's the official track from the National Weather Service. I guess there's still some, or the National Hurricane Center, there's still some doubts. I noticed Dr. Coleman posted an interesting post, but there's still some interesting outliers. Here's a look at some of the tracks, and by all stretch of the imagination here, it looks like the predominant path is what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting. That is into northern Mexico, the northern Mexican coast. However, I noticed the 06Z GFS, which we'll get to in just a moment, brings the storm not in a real strong fashion up into the Texas coast, where it could actually impact us with some clouds and rain for the start of July 4th weekend. Now let's go to the 06Z GFS model run. And here is today's surface map at 1 o'clock, and not much to write home about, just scattered showers and thunderstorms. That trough coming across southern Canada and the deep closed low is helping to enhance that trough into the eastern part of the country. And so that's going to bring a front down across the Ohio River Valley on Monday. And of course, that helps also to enhance showers and thunderstorms across our area as we remain warm and humid. And there is Alex down there emerging from the Yucatan Peninsula into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. The trough becomes positioned over the eastern half of the country, and of course we can see the reflection of Alex. And the bottom line is the front is in our area. Now, here is where things begin to get a little dicey. The GFS is suggesting by Wednesday that the trough is still in position, and that indeed looks like that could force Alex to move a little bit further to the north, and as it does, it will could be impacting the Texas coast. Now, we're still dealing with the fact that we do have a frontal boundary in there, which also ought to keep Alex from going to the north. But with changes going on and the ridge moving over as the trough moves off, and of course the interaction of that trough and Alex, we're going to have to see if they get close enough to actually interact with one another. You may remember a storm some years ago that came up into the Gulf of Mexico, went across over to Florida as the trough moved by, lost connection, and then came back to the Mississippi coast, and that is the same sort of thing we've got to watch here. But it looks like the trough moves by and Alex comes under the ridge, and that should bring it up into the Texas coast area by Thursday, the 1st. By the 2nd, Friday, it looks like Alex is in the vicinity of the southeast Texas coast and the Texas-Louisiana coast, you might say, according to the GFS. So this is where we've got some big differences with what the National Hurricane Center is suggesting and what the latest GFS is suggesting. So we'll definitely have to stay tuned on this one. There's no doubt about that. By the 3rd, if the GFS is right, the Alex is becoming absorbed into the pattern, and with that we see a good deal of clouds and rain, and this could end up with a situation where by the 3rd, the 2nd, 3rd, and into the 4th, we might have a lot of clouds, a lot of rain in the area, and the result could be temperatures only into the 80s for highs, but again, we'll have to watch. By the 4th of July, the Sunday, the 4th, all right, one of my favorite holidays, we see that Alex is now up in the vicinity, or the reflection of Alex in the upper atmosphere is up into the Chicago area, and the bottom line is we're still getting a lot of moisture, and so showers and thunderstorms are a likely possibility that may be washing out some of the 4th of July celebrations. All right, let's go out into Voodoo Land. And I'm not sure I like the sharp look of this trough, but here comes another trough on the 7th. And, of course, what does that mean? That means another front and the possibility of some additional rain. And the GFS is now suggesting a tropical system off of Jacksonville. But, again, remember, this is voodoo. And finally, out into the 12th, at the end of the period, and certainly a ridge for the most part, but also another tropical system that is out in the vicinity of Bermuda and just a little north of that. So, lots of things to speculate about, lots of weather to be on the lookout for, and a forecast that's a little difficult to nail down specifically more than about 3 or 4 days in advance. Well, thanks for tuning into the Weather Xtreme video. James Spann should be back with the next edition bright and early Monday morning. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great Sunday, and Godspeed.
Each day there are new stories to tell about the people who live here and the place we call home.
All of the faces that I see, all of the places close to me, they're all part of all the best things about home.
Sharing your stories on ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.